I too old for this? Definitely. You, on the other hand, you're still prom age, right? Probably not. But at the end of the day, what is age but a social construct and scientific fact? So let's make some prom dresses anyway.
We'll make one ridiculously easy, one intermediate, and one difficult dress, starting with intermediate. It never gets a chance to go first. I traveled to the endangered wasteland that is Joanne's, where thread shelves were bare, customers were frenzied, and the employees who had long covered their tattoos now exposed them with reckless abandon. Apocalypses have a way of making us reorganize our priorities.
I don't know how long this is going to take, but it's currently 3:30 and I have dinner plans at my boyfriend's at 7.
You'll need 4 yards of a stretchy fabric and a skirt that fits you well, unless you'd rather have someone trace your lower half. Take about 2 yards of that fabric and bunch it up till it looks like the heart rate monitor reading of Blake Lively's PR manager. Lay either yourself or a long fitted skirt on top of it, trace, then pull the heart rate into a flat line and trim away the edges. Draw a line down the middle of each skirt panel and cut a piece of elastic as long as from your knees to your Benjamin button. Pin it to one end and... Oh no, that downcast sound effect indicates to me that there's a problem needing fixing. But if you pin the ends of your skirt to a gigantic Edwardian rug to hold it taut, it will allow you to stretch that elastic along the immaculate line you drew earlier, pinning it in place every few inches. Now flip to a zigzag stitch and rest your posterior upon its throne.
Oh, my wires are so tangled. In the future, there'll be no such thing as wires. I will miss them dearly. Be sad. I'll be like, remember wires? Nostalgia does that. Makes you forget the bad parts.
Moving. Be sure that you're pulling and stretching your elastic while you sew it down. Then upon releasing the tension, it should snap back into a wrinkly formation akin to an unbotoxed forehead.
Now repeat on the other side. Are you sunning your armpits, sweet girl?
You thinking about joining her? As Garion grappled with his heart's desires, I grappled with the word grapple. In particular, grappling hooks. Are they real? Were they ever? Or just an imagined relic of the Kim Possible spy era? I also grappled with whether or not to throw away this scrap.
Do you ever think about how much we waste, or how much we consume? A few years ago, I conducted an experiment to find out just how much gum I had been chewing. The results were bleak. Then I got to thinking, if my chewing gum footprint was this gargantuan, how big must my fashion footprint be? Luckily not very, because I shop secondhand with thread. Just pretend that was a good segue. Not only is secondhand shopping an eco-friendly alternative, it's also an affordable one.
For instance, if I'd bought this breezy Zara cocktail dress brand new, it would have set me back a cool $50, but savvy old me paid just $60. These Sam Edelman heels were originally $70, but I paid just $29.60, and might I say they'd make a great prom shoe. Now I hope you have a comfortable layer of padding on your jaw, because it's about to hit the floor when I tell you this Coach bag was originally $404, but I only paid a quarter of that. I only paid $9 for these originally $25 Sam and Libby mini heels, and $32 for yet another Zara masterpiece. This universal thread skirt pairs great with this preppy t-shirt, which probably looks so good on me because I do play tennis, and I win every time I play, inevitably leading to the loser whining that I made them play with their non-dominant hand. These 9 West sandals were originally $60, but I paid just $19.94, which is the same year Justin Bieber was born, if you even care. You know what I care about? Tiny little satchels in which to harbor my lip glosses. And this Urban Outfitters bag envelops my lip gloss cozily.
I genuinely wear thredUP 9 out of 10 days of the week. It's my favorite way to shop, especially with their new and improved search features. You can search by brand name, category, condition, and new arrival. And there's no shortage of items new with tags. And the best part is you'll be doing so with a clean conscience, because this month is Earth Day, and you wouldn't feel comfortable shopping firsthand on Earth's birthday, would you? Shop hundreds of brands for a fraction of the price, all in one place. Tap my link and use my code Micarah50 to shop my thredUP faves and find something special for any occasion. You'll get 50% off your first purchase and free shipping.
So, you sewed a simple little skirt, and now you've come crawling to me to find out how to turn it into the giant sparkly trumpet of your dreams. Listen, I want you to tie some chalk to a ribbon the length of your fibula. Now approach a folded up piece of fabric and draw a taco on it that is proportionate in size to what an elephant would eat. Cut along the line, then cut out an elephant proportioned Hershey Kiss, then unfold it all in surprise you've actually been making an elephant donut. Line up your skirt with the donut hole, forming an elephant witch hat. Pin the top to the brim and sew it quickly so that you have enough time for a quick bridal makeup trial. Congratulations, Veronica!
That took a very pleasant, leisurely hour, so I think we have enough time left to do the top. Do we have enough fabric?
Loath to go out and hunt for more material in a day and age where it's becoming so scarce and valuable a commodity, I was determined to make it work. To measure the neckline and straps, I used my hand, but if that seems like a silly option to you, I would recommend using your own hand. You should have 4 identical pieces like this. Pair them off 2 by 2. Like Noah's Ark, you may ask? No, common mistake. Most of the animals were brought on in groups of 7. Only the unclean animals were brought in 2 by 2, but I won't hold that against you because we're friends, you and I. If you've got loose hanging fabric, feel free to add a couple of darts to the front. I thought it would be cute if I pinned the darts in place with actual darts, but who am I trying to impress with gimmicks like that? You know, I already have a boyfriend.
It kind of looks, unfortunately, a lot like a sports bra, so we're gonna dress it up. If you want to do that. Wow, that's kind of cool. That's kind of pretty. We're just gonna do this.
I used hot glue due to time constraints, but then I finished at 6:59. And if I were to show up at Dan's house exactly on time, he'd probably worry. I try not to do out-of-character things like that. So I made some gloves and finished at 7:10. And grand reveal coming to you in 3, 2... This girl goes to prom alone because boys are too intimidated by her. This girl falls asleep to crime podcasts. This girl has a pet cobra under her bed, and her parents, when they find out, they're gonna be ticked, and they're even gonna get in a fight about it and file for divorce, and they'll tell her it's not her fault, but in this case, it totally is. But if you're not that girl, you can still wear this dress. Maybe not the gloves. If you don't have the cobra, I don't think you should wear the gloves. But this is what it looks like without the gloves. Still a sleigh. And this is what it would look like in different lighting. And this is what it would look like on a short, curvy brunette in a dusty room with a messy closet in the background. Dress number 2. Now, I've noticed that tiered dresses are really having a moment this year, which I never would have worn back in my day, because back when I was a teenager, we had real tiers. I like this, though. Let's make it.
Before I start on the next dress, I am going to the podiatrist. I think I might have an in-growth. I've never been to one, and I like new experiences, so I'm excited. No one told me they would have to look at my foot. This is a 2-yard piece of fabric.
Fold it in half like so, then fold it again, trimming off the top corners a bit in long tapering triangles. For a more advanced technique, slightly round up the bottom and round down the top. Upon unfolding, you should have 2 delectable pieces that look like this, which you will sew together along the sides. Now herein lies our first bout of trickery. Cut it open along the back. That wasn't very tricky. Now hem the bottom with cat-like precision, and then you'll finally be worthy to conquer the ruffles. I recommend using a fabric that doesn't fray, such as take all 4.5 yards of your fabric and splay it out like a Vestruvian man. Then fold it over a couple times and cut your first strip. This one should be as wide as a dad's New Balance shoe and as long as 4 yards. So all along the edge, and by golly, please resist the urge to backstitch when you get to the end, because you'll need to tug on one of those threads until the whole thing begins to wither and shrink at the behest of your coercion. Make the next strip the height of a Barbie doll. Speaking of Barbie, did you hear the Minecraft movie out-earned Barbie's opening weekend? It is as the ancient tweet foretold. The children yearn for the mines. Cut your last couple ruffles to the size of an Ohio squirrel. And mind you, we make them thick around here. At this point, I sewed my ruffles to my lining. I was roughly 7 hours in on the dress when misfortune fell upon my venture.
I could get this finished today. I could put in a few more hours and finish, but I ran out of thread because I could only get one spool thread because my answer's really lost and I had to go to Hobby Lobby and get more thread, but it's Sunday, so Hobby Lobby's closed, so I can't, so we have to finish this tomorrow. Well, stop the timer.
To clarify, I ran out of thread. Luckily, it was a great evening for a walk, which is what I did. While on this leisurely stroll, I saw some pleasant sights. However, things became less pleasant when the sky began to turn.
So we're gonna try to get this done today, but I wanna let you guys know that the past 16 hours have been rough. Last night, there was a tornado in Wisconsin, which is only 2 states away from me. It took out like a whole abandoned barn. But here there also really was a very bad storm, and I lost a really big old tree. It's technically my neighbor's, but this tree, it was like a pillar of the community. Like, and to me, it was very important. It was like a son to me. I think the really sad thing is that I didn't even get to appreciate the time I had with this tree, because before today, I didn't even know about it. I never noticed it before. It's like what they say, how you don't know what you have till it's gone. So the only reason I tell you guys this is so that you can appreciate like how much I'm fighting through to bring this to you today. And I just want you to appreciate me and my truth. Just some acknowledgement.
So I actually drank a Celsius and then I felt better. Hashtag not sponsored. Actually, hashtag anti-sponsored, because Celsius gives me heart palpitations. To make the top, pin a cheap scrap of fabric onto yourself. Pinch a little contour over your contours. Then immortalize it with chalk and add a neckline. Unpin it and snip away at your little drawing until it becomes pattern piece. Then take those 3 single pieces, sew them into a throuple, make adjustments as needed, then seam rip them apart. Now it's time to trace those onto your fancy fabric. In an effort not to waste more fabric, I used my muslin as lining, meaning I had to sew that throuple back together again. Speaking of throuples, would be an odd choice for me. This is a sewing tutorial. Okay, but one quick thought. Odd numbers. I don't really like odd numbers. I wouldn't even want an odd number of kids, because when you go to roller coaster parks, it's 2 people to a ride, and you don't want one person riding all alone. So if you're gonna be a throuple, you better make dang sure that one or all of you doesn't like roller coasters. With your top all assembled, it's time for the next step. We've got to make this fit into this. And the quickest way to fix that disparity is with a touch of elastic. Cut it to be the exact width of your bodice, then stretch it across your skirt and sew it in place. Now top stitch the bodice onto your skirt, and while doing so, you might want to leave a sneaky little hole unsewn for purposes which I will reveal to you when the time is right. I glued up the raw edges around the opening, then I sewed the back up, leaving an area open for a zipper roughly the length of the now extinct $5 footlong. Lastly, you may want to make a strap the size of a tapeworm that 1920s women would adjust to maintain their girlish figures. Now slip it through that opening and trick it into lassoing itself. A lot of options to be had here, including the sparkly route. So which did I choose? Stay tuned to find out. Grand reveal in 3, 2, This girl is an ethereal princess who's friends with everybody, and her parents are super proud that she's their daughter until she tells them that she's planning on majoring in mushroom poetry history. Anyway, this dress is very versatile. It could also be worn strapless. You could wear it as a bridal shower dress, a wedding dress, a maternity shoot dress. You could probably be buried in it. And if you feel like the color is too bridal, you could make it in other colors. For instance, this is what orange looks like, and this is what blue looks like. And if you feel like it looks too maternity, I don't know what to tell you except this fun fact. Did you know that right now, for the first time in human history, 40-year-old pregnancies are outnumbering teen pregnancies? So, good news for humanity, bad news for MTV. Before diving headfirst into this infuriatingly easy design, we need to honor a tradition.
It's the evening of March 31st. For those of you who've been around for a while, you know that April 1st is Spray Dad in the Stomach Day. I've done this every year for 15 years, and he never remembers to check. However, this year, he ruined everything by remodeling his kitchen and getting a different sink.
A prank-proof sink. So I had to prank him on my own turf. To do this, you're gonna want to break off the end of a treasured spoon, tape it to the bottom of your faucet, then give it a little test drive. To make certain your victim has use for said faucet, empty out the old Keurig water tank. Now this whole thing only works if your intended victim has a good nature to prey on. For instance, my dad comes over every morning and makes me a cup of coffee. At 8:45, he arrived, having left his home unsprayed for the first time on April 1st in 15 years. He thinks he's in the clear, but fate has other plans. And by fate, I mean replace the F-A-T-E with M-E. I guess you could have kept the E.
She's irrational, isn't she?
Anything fun happen?
Yeah.
Now time to actually start this ridiculously easy dress.
Current time, 4 p.m. Let's start.
Lay down on 3 yards of fabric, fold it in half, then trace yourself, or just trace your dress. Woof, Left Behind flashbacks. Anybody else watch that when they were way too young? Don't get me wrong, it's an entertaining movie, it slaps. But after watching it, hampers became so critical, because so help me, if I saw one family member's dirty laundry on the ground, it would throw me into a heaving, sobbing panic attack. Please tell me someone else had this exact same experience. Anyway, after I sewed my front and back together, I realized that I accidentally cut with the stretch going the wrong way, so I had to add a couple darts and a zipper, but you won't have to as long as you cut it with the stretch going this way. Now let's utilize our scraps. Remember those sides we cut off the skirt? Well, we wouldn't dare throw them away. I got a needle wedged in my foot. Believers in karma may call it such. Round the bottom of your scraps and make sure they match each other. It should be as long as from your hip bone to your toe, a little shorter than your wingspan, as long as 10 foreheads, and 3 whole forearms. Fold each one in on itself inside out, then sew all along the edge. Then flip it right side out and do a long stitch along the bottom curve. Pull on one thread to gather it just a touch, then pin them to the front middle of your skirt. At this point, you may cry while listening to the Beach Boys and thinking about how lucky you are that you have a boyfriend who's nice to you. Which brings me to some advice for you high school age girls out there. If a boy makes you sad cry once a week or more, and it better to go to prom alone than with a little jerk.
Let's get ready for prom.
This girl is indecisive. Every time someone asks what college she's going to, she gives a different answer. She's also a closet hypochondriac who spends hours a week on WebMD trying to figure out if teenagers can get dementia. And she couldn't pick a prom dress, so she goes to the bathroom several times throughout the night to switch up her silhouette. True story though, the 5th and final time I went to prom, I couldn't decide on a dress, so I changed 4 times throughout the evening. And now, an undisclosed number of years later, I can't decide which way I like this dress best. This one's sophisticated. It says I have prom at 7, but I'm mother of the bride at 8. And you know, all of these would make great bridesmaids dresses. So if you're a current bride and you're bored, don't feel like you have enough on your plate, you could just make this dress over and over. They could all wear a different variation. It only took 2 hours to make, so even if you have 6 bridesmaids, that's only like 20 hours.
And don't forget to follow that little link, shop ThredUp, and use my code Micarah50. Find the perfect outfit for any occasion like prom, a red carpet event, family reunion.